The emergency lights flashed red across the giant space station called Nexus Prime. Tejo walked quickly through the metal halls, his blue skin pale with worry. As a Villani ambassador, he could read thoughts from far away, and right now he felt fear coming from every direction. The meeting room was already full when he arrived. Representatives from all the major species sat around a huge table that glowed with star maps. The Kreks looked like giant insects with their shiny black shells. The Thoran had gray skin and large eyes that never seemed to blink. Dozens of smaller species filled the other seats. For 300 years, the Galactic Council had kept peace between all these different races. They talked instead of fighting. They shared resources instead of stealing them. It was a good system that worked well. But today, something had changed. Dayun stood at the front of the room, her hands shaking as she touched the control panel. She was the best military analyst the council had. If she was scared, everyone should be scared. "Show them what we found," said Elder Velthar, the oldest Villani in the room. The star map changed. Now it showed the edge of council space where almost no one lived. A red dot moved slowly across the empty black between stars. 3 days ago, our scout ships detected this, Dayun said. Her voice was steady, but Tejo could feel her fear. It is a ship, but it is unlike anything we have ever seen. The image zoomed in. The ship was huge, longer than most space stations. Its hull was dark and covered with strange angles that hurt to look at. Weapons stuck out from every surface like the spines of some deadly animal. "How big is it?" asked Hyunwoo. He spoke for the Kreks Collective, billions of minds that thought as one. "Nearly 10 kilometers long," Dayun replied. "That makes it larger than our biggest battleships." Nervous sounds filled the room. Even the largest council warships were only 2 kilometers long. This thing was 5 times bigger. Where did it come from? Young Mai asked. She represented the peaceful Thoran, who liked to build things instead of destroy them. "The Kepler sector," Dayun said. The room went completely quiet. Everyone knew about the Kepler sector. It had been marked as forbidden space for over 500 years. Nothing was supposed to live there anymore. "That is impossible," Hyunwoo said. "The third planet was destroyed long ago. Nothing could survive in that dead system. The ship's energy readings do not match any known technology," Dayun continued. "Its hull appears to be made from materials that should not exist. The way it moves breaks several laws of physics that we thought were absolute." Tejo studied the image more carefully. Something about the ship's design seemed familiar, but he could not place it. The sharp angles and aggressive look reminded him of something from the old history files. "What does it want?" asked Zekmar, a small reptilian creature from the outer colonies. "We do not know," Dayun admitted. "It has not responded to any of our attempts to communicate. It just keeps moving toward our space." "How long until it arrives?" Young Mai asked. "At its current speed, approximately 4 months." Elder Velthar stood up slowly. He was over 800 years old and had seen many things that others had forgotten. "I must look at the old records," he said. "Something about this ship troubles me greatly." "We should send our fleet to stop it," Hyunwoo declared. "One ship, no matter how large, cannot stand against the combined might of the Council." "Perhaps we should try talking first," Young Mi suggested. "They might be peaceful. They might need help. Look at that thing." Hyunwoo pointed at the image. "Does that look peaceful to you?" "It is a weapon. A weapon pointed at all of us." The argument continued for hours. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to talk. A few suggested hiding and hoping the ship would go away. Then the alarm started ringing. Dayun's face went white as new information appeared on her screen. "The ship just changed course," and she announced. "It is moving directly toward Nexus Prime." "How long now?" Tejo asked. "It also increased speed, much faster than we thought possible." Dayun's hands moved quickly over the controls. "At this new speed." 6 weeks. The room erupted in panic. Representatives shouted in dozens of different languages. Some demanded immediate military action. Others called for evacuation. "There is more," Dayun said loudly, trying to speak over the noise. "Our long-range sensors are detecting additional energy signatures." The star map changed again. Now it showed dozens of red dots appearing all along the edge of Council space. Each dot was another massive ship. "How many?" Elder Velthar asked quietly. 57 confirmed contacts, possibly more that we cannot detect yet." The panic got worse. 57 ships, each one larger than anything the Council had ever built. It was not just one mysterious vessel anymore. It was an entire fleet. They are surrounding us, Hyunwoo observed. This is not exploration. This is an invasion. Young Mi's large eyes were wide with fear. Who could build such ships? What race has technology this advanced? Taeho closed his eyes and tried to use his telepathic abilities to sense anything from the approaching fleet. But there was nothing. The ships were too far away, or their occupants were somehow blocking mental contact. We need to send a diplomatic mission, Elder Velthar decided. Our fastest ship with our best negotiators. If we can talk to them, perhaps we can avoid a war. And if they refuse to talk? Hyunwoo asked. Then we prepare for the worst, the elder replied. As the meeting broke up, Taeho stayed behind to study the images more carefully. There was definitely something familiar about those ships. The design reminded him of old historical records from centuries ago. But which ones? He pulled up the ancient archives and began searching. Most of the old files were about peaceful first contacts and trade agreements. But then he found a section marked Quarantine Protocols and Terminated Species. His blood went cold as he read the files. 500 years ago, the Council had encountered a species that was too dangerous to be allowed to develop freely. They had been cut off from the rest of the galaxy for their own good and everyone else's safety. The species was called human. According to the records, their home planet had been destroyed in a nuclear war. The few survivors had been relocated to safe worlds where they could live peacefully under Council supervision. The case had been closed centuries ago, but as Taeho looked at the approaching ships again, he began to wonder if the case was really closed after all. The aggressive design, the advanced technology, the way they moved like predators stalking prey, it all matched the old descriptions of human military vessels. If these were humans, and if they had somehow survived and grown strong during their long absence, then the galaxy was about to face something far worse than an invasion. It was about to face revenge. The ship called Harmony's Voice was the Council's finest diplomatic vessel. Its white hull sparkled with peaceful symbols from dozens of different species. Captain Jinwoo stood on the bridge watching the massive unknown ship grow larger on the main screen. Jinwoo was Vellani, like Taeho, but younger and more confident. He had successfully negotiated peace treaties with hostile races before. He believed that any problem could be solved with the right words and enough patience. Distance to target? He asked. 50,000 kilometers in closing, replied So Young from the engineering station. She was Thoran, with the typical gray skin and large black eyes of her people. Her hands moved constantly over her controls, checking and rechecking their ship's systems. Any response to our communications? Jin Woo asked. Nothing yet, Captain, said Wu Jin, the Krek's tactical officer. His insect-like head turned toward Jin Woo. They are ignoring all of our signals. Jin Woo looked at the fourth member of his bridge crew. Chunji sat quietly at the communication station, but he could see tension in her shoulders. She was human, one of only a few dozen humans living in Council space. Most people forgot that humans still existed at all. Yoonji, try sending a message in human standard, Jinwoo ordered. Maybe they will respond to their own language. Yoonji's fingers hesitated over her controls. Captain, I should mention something. That ship's design, it looks human. What do you mean? Jinwoo asked. The angles, the way the weapons are arranged, even the shape of the hull. It matches the old human military designs from the archives, but... She paused, studying the image. But it is much more advanced than anything humans had before the quarantine. Jinwoo frowned. According to official records, humans had destroyed themselves in a nuclear war 500 years ago. The few survivors had been resettled on peaceful agricultural worlds. They were farmers and craftsmen now, not warriors. Send the message anyway, he decided. Yoonji spoke into her microphone, using the ancient human language that few people remembered. Her words were translated into text on the screen. Unknown vessel, this is the Council ship Harmony's Voice. We come in peace. Please respond. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then the massive ship's hull began to light up. Hundreds of weapon ports opened like hungry mouths. The ship's engines flared brighter and it started moving toward them much faster. They are targeting us, Wu Jin shouted. Wait, Jinwoo said calmly. Do not raise shields yet. We are here to talk, not fight. Then the communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in perfect human standard, but it was cold and hard like metal. Council vessel, you are trespassing in human space. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of the other ship. Jinwoo's breath caught in his throat. The figure on the screen was definitely human, but unlike any human he had ever seen. The man wore a black military uniform with silver decorations. His face was pale and scarred, and his eyes looked like chips of ice. Behind him, other humans worked at control stations. They all had the same cold, disciplined appearance. "I am Admiral Jae Sung of the Terran Defense Fleet," the man continued. "This is your only warning." Jinwoo stepped forward. "Admiral, I am Captain Jinwoo of the Council Diplomatic Corps. We were not aware this region was claimed by anyone. According to our records, this area has been empty for centuries." Jae Sung's laugh was sharp and bitter. "Empty? You call it empty because you drove us out. But we never left, Council Dog. We have been watching. We have been waiting. We have been preparing," Yoonji spoke up from her station. "Admiral, please. I am human like you. I serve on this council ship, but I remember our people. We do not have to be enemies." Jae Sung's cold eyes fixed on her. "You are no human, you are a pet. A slave wearing our face to make our oppressors feel better about what they did to us." "What are you talking about?" Jinwoo asked. "The council rescued the surviving humans after Earth's nuclear war. They were given new homes and protection." "Lies." Jae Sung slammed his fist on his command chair. "Earth was never destroyed by nuclear war. Earth was attacked by council forces when we refused to surrender our technology. You tried to wipe us out because you feared what we might become." The bridge of Harmony's voice went silent. Jinwoo felt his telepathic abilities reaching out automatically, trying to read the human's mind. But instead of thoughts, he hit a wall of static and pain that made him stumble backward. "Do not try your mind tricks on us, Villani," Jae Sung warned. "We learned how to stop that long ago." So Young checked her instruments frantically. "Captain, I am detecting massive energy buildups throughout their ship. They have weapons that do not match any known technology." "Admiral," Jinwoo tried again. "Whatever happened in the past, we can discuss it peacefully. The Council has always believed in negotiation and compromise." "The time for talk ended when you attacked our homeworld," Jae Sung replied. "We spent 500 years in the cold dark between galaxies. 500 years building our strength. 500 years preparing for this moment." Woo Jin's multiple eyes were wide with fear. "Captain, my sensors are detecting more ships. Many more ships." The main screen split to show long-range sensor readings. Dozens of red contacts were appearing across the system. Each one was as large as the ship they were facing. "You see only a small part of our fleet," Jae Sung said. "We have ships stationed throughout what you call council space. We have been moving into position for months." "How many ships do you have?" Jinwoo asked. "Enough to reclaim what was stolen from us. Enough to make you pay for what you did." Yoonji stood up from her station. "Admiral, please listen to me. I have studied human history. I know what the council did was wrong, but most of the people alive today had nothing to do with those decisions. You do not have to destroy innocent civilizations for the crimes of the past." Jae Sung studied her for a long moment. "You speak well for a slave, but you understand nothing. The council did not just attack Earth. They tried to erase us from history. They told the galaxy we destroyed ourselves. They made us into a cautionary tale about the dangers of war." "That was wrong," Yoonji agreed. "But revenge will not fix it." "This is not revenge," Jae Sung said quietly. "This is justice. And after 5 centuries of exile, justice will be swift and absolute." More alarms began ringing on Harmony's voice. So Young's voice was tight with panic. "Captain, the entire human fleet is moving. They are heading for every major council world simultaneously." Jinwoo realized that this was not a chance encounter. The humans had planned this carefully. They knew where every council ship was located. They knew the positions of every planet and space station. "Admiral, surely we can find some other solution," he pleaded. "The solution is simple," Jae Sung replied. "The council will surrender unconditionally. All council military forces will stand down. All council worlds will submit to human authority. You have 72 hours to comply. And if we refuse," Jae Sung's smile was colder than space itself, "then you will learn why the galaxy should have left us alone." The communication ended abruptly. The massive human ship began turning away, its weapons still trained on Harmony's voice. "Should we follow them, Captain?" Woo Jin asked. "No," Jinwoo said quietly. "Set course for Nexus Prime. Maximum speed." As their ship turned and accelerated away from the human fleet, Yoonji remained standing at her station. She watched the human ships on her screen and tears ran down her face. "Yoonji?" So Young asked gently. "Are you all right?" "They are my people," Yoonji whispered. but I do not recognize them anymore. What did 500 years of exile do to them? Jin Wu put a hand on her shoulder. They survived. Sometimes that changes people in ways we cannot imagine. The council needs to know, Wu Jin said. If the humans are telling the truth about what happened 500 years ago, then the galaxy is about to pay for a very old lie, Jin Wu finished. Do Hyun ran through the archives deep beneath Nexus Prime. As the council's chief historian, he had access to files that most people never knew existed. The human fleet was only days away, and everyone needed answers about what had really happened 500 years ago. His fingers flew over the ancient data terminals, searching through records that had been sealed for centuries. Most of the information about humans had been classified at the highest levels. Only a few people alive today knew the real truth. There, he whispered, finding a file marked Project Silence, Human Contact Termination. The file was enormous. Thousands of pages of reports, military assessments, and council meeting transcripts. As Do Hyun read, his face grew pale with horror. The official story was a lie. All of it. Earth had never been destroyed by nuclear war. The humans had never destroyed themselves. The council had attacked them. Do Hyun found a personal report written by Gayun, a Vellani elder who had been present during humanity's first contact. She was still alive, living in retirement on a distant world. Her account was detailed and terrifying. According to Gayun's report, humans had achieved faster-than-light travel completely on their own. When council scouts first encountered them, they were already exploring nearby star systems. Their technology was different from anything the galaxy had seen before, but it was their weapons that had caused the panic. Humans had developed something they called reality bombs, devices that could tear apart the basic forces that held matter together. A single reality bomb could destroy not just a planet, but an entire solar system. The explosion would spread through space like a disease, unmaking everything it touched. The council had demanded that humans surrender this technology immediately. They claimed it was too dangerous for any species to possess. When the humans refused, the council issued an ultimatum: give up the weapons or face total war. Humanity's response had been swift and brutal. They had used their reality bombs to destroy 3 council fleets in a matter of hours. Entire armadas simply ceased to exist, leaving nothing behind but empty space. The council had been forced to gather every ship from every member species. Over 10,000 vessels had surrounded Earth, threatening to destroy the planet if humans did not surrender. But the humans had surprised them again. Do Hyun found tactical reports from the battle. Admiral Sung Min of the Human Defense Force had somehow evacuated most of Earth's population before the final confrontation. Billions of people had simply vanished, along with most of their technology and industrial capacity. The remaining humans on Earth had fought to the end, but they were vastly outnumbered. The council forces had eventually overwhelmed them, but the cost had been enormous. The humans had destroyed over half the attacking fleet before they were defeated. After the battle, the council had discovered that Earth was mostly empty. The cities were abandoned. The military bases were stripped clean. Only a few million humans remained, mostly civilians who had chosen to stay behind. The council had taken these survivors and relocated them to agricultural worlds, telling them that their planet had been destroyed in a nuclear war. The few humans who remembered the truth were kept isolated and eventually died of old age. Their children grew up believing the lie, but Admiral Sung Min and the bulk of humanity had escaped to the void between galaxies. The council had assumed they would die in the cold emptiness of intergalactic space. Instead, they had spent 5 centuries building their strength. Do Hyun's hand shook as he read the final files. They contained estimates of human military capability based on captured technology. According to the reports, humans had been advancing at an incredible rate. Their scientists thought in ways that other species could barely understand. If they had continued developing their technology for 500 years in isolation, Do Hyun, a voice called from the archive entrance. It was Mi Young, a Krex infiltrator who worked for Council Intelligence. She scuttled toward him on her multiple legs, her antennae twitching with excitement. I managed to hack into one of their ships, she said breathlessly. Only for a few seconds before they kicked me out, but I saw enough. What did you see? Do Hyun asked. Their technology is beyond anything we imagined. They have mastered dark matter manipulation. Their ships can phase in and out of normal space. They have weapons that can rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas. Do-hyun felt sick. How many ships do they have? Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. And that is just what I could detect. They have been building in the void for 5 centuries. Who knows what they have accomplished? An alarm began ringing throughout the archives. Emergency broadcasts were being transmitted across the galaxy. Do-hyun and Mi-young ran to the nearest communication terminal. The screen showed Admiral Sung-ho, the Council's highest-ranking military officer. He stood on the bridge of the massive battleship Unified Hope, surrounded by tactical displays showing the positions of both fleets. Citizens of the galaxy, Sung-ho announced, the Council fleet is moving to intercept the human invasion force. We have assembled over 3,000 ships representing every member species. This is the largest military force in galactic history. The display showed the Council fleet in formation. Hundreds of different ship designs moved together through space. Filani cruisers with their elegant curves flew alongside angular Krex destroyers. Thorin science vessels had been hastily converted to carry weapons. The enemy fleet is formidable, Sung-ho continued. But we have the combined strength of an entire galaxy. We will not allow terrorism to succeed. We will not bow to demands backed by threats of violence. Do-hyun watched in horror as the two fleets approached each other. The human ships moved in perfect formation, like a school of predatory fish. Their dark hulls seemed to absorb light, making them difficult to track visually. Admiral, Mi-young whispered, you do not understand what you are facing. On the screen, tactical displays showed the moment of contact. The Council fleet opened fire with everything they had. Thousands of energy beams and missiles streaked across space toward the human ships. Then something impossible happened. The human ships simply vanished. One moment they were there, the next moment they were gone. The Council weapons hit empty space. Where did they go? Someone shouted on the bridge of Unified Hope. The answer came seconds later. The human ships reappeared inside the Council formation. They had somehow moved through space instantly, bypassing all defenses. Captain Hee-jin of the human destroyer Vengeance demonstrated their new weapons on a nearby asteroid. The asteroid was the size of a small moon, made of solid rock and metal. Hee-jin's ship fired a single shot that looked like a beam of pure darkness. The asteroid did not explode. It did not break apart. It simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next moment there was nothing. The weapon had somehow convinced reality that the asteroid had never existed in the first place. Impossible, Do-hyun breathed. But it was only the beginning. The human ships moved through the Council fleet like wolves among sheep. Their weapons did not just destroy enemy vessels, they erased them. Ships that had existed for centuries simply vanished, along with their crews and their histories. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, less than 20% of the Council fleet remained. Admiral Seung-ho's flagship was heavily damaged, barely able to maintain life support. In the final transmission from the battle zone, Seung-ho looked directly into the camera. His face was gray with shock and defeat. All Council forces are to withdraw immediately, he ordered. Do not engage the human fleet. Repeat, do not engage. They have weapons we cannot understand or counter. The transmission ended. Do-hyun and Mi-young sat in the silent archives, surrounded by the weight of 5 centuries of lies. The galaxy had tried to destroy humanity out of fear, and instead had created something far more terrifying than they had ever imagined. What do we do now? Mi-young asked. Before Do-hyun could answer, every communication device in the archives activated simultaneously. A familiar cold voice spoke from the speakers. People of the galaxy, Admiral Jae-sung announced. You have seen what happens when you resist us. Your fleet has been destroyed. Your military leaders have fled. Your planets are defenseless. The voice paused, letting the words sink in. We offer you one chance at survival. Complete and immediate surrender. All military forces will stand down. All political leaders will submit to human authority. Any species or world that resists will be removed from existence. Another pause. You have 24 hours to comply. Choose wisely. We have learned patience during our long exile, but our mercy has limits. The transmission ended, leaving Do-hyun and Mi-young alone with the terrible truth. The galaxy had awakened something that should have been left sleeping. Now everyone would pay the price for the Council's ancient crime. The 24 hours passed in chaos across the galaxy. Some worlds immediately surrendered, lowering their shields and broadcasting messages of submission. Others refused to believe that humanity had returned. or that any single species could threaten the entire galactic civilization. Captain Yanju stood on the bridge of the human battleship Prometheus, watching the tactical displays with cold satisfaction. Her ship was one of 50 vessels assigned to the Thoran home system. The peaceful Thoran had built impressive space stations and defensive platforms, but they had never designed them to face human weapons. "Target the orbital defense grid first," she ordered. "Let them see what they are dealing with." The Prometheus fired a single shot from its main weapon. The beam looked like concentrated darkness traveling faster than light itself. When it hit the largest defense station, the massive structure simply disappeared. No explosion, no debris, no trace that it had ever existed. The remaining Thoran defenses opened fire desperately. Thousands of energy bolts and missiles streaked toward the human ships, but none of them found their targets. The human vessels phased in and out of normal space, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. "This is Admiral Corven of the Thoran Defense Force," a voice transmitted from the planet below. "We surrender. Please stop the attack." Hyunju smiled coldly. "Too late," she said. "You had your chance." Meanwhile, in the Vellani system, Captain Yanwu commanded a squad of human destroyers against the telepathic species' home fleet. The Vellani had always relied on their mental abilities to predict enemy actions and coordinate their defenses. But when Vellani telepaths tried to read human minds, they screamed in agony and collapsed. The humans had developed mental barriers that caused terrible feedback to anyone who attempted psychic contact. "They cannot see us coming," Yanwu reported to his crew. "Their greatest advantage has become their greatest weakness." His ship, the Nemesis, demonstrated a new type of human weapon. Instead of firing projectiles or energy beams, it created localized gravity fields around enemy vessels. The Vellani ships were crushed like insects as space itself folded around them. On the planet below, Ah Young was one of the few surviving Vellani psychics. She had tried to contact the human fleet when they first arrived, hoping to negotiate. The mental feedback had left her blind and barely conscious, but she had sensed something in the brief contact that terrified her more than the physical destruction. The human minds were not filled with rage or hatred. They were cold and calculating, like machines programmed for a specific task. They felt no guilt about what they were doing. To them, this was simply justice being served after centuries of waiting. In the Krex system, the situation was even worse. The Krex Collective was a hive mind that connected billions of individuals across multiple worlds. They had always been the galaxy's greatest military strategists because they could think with perfect coordination. But Captain Changmin of the Human Pursuit Squadron had studied Krex tactics for centuries. He knew exactly how they would respond to any threat. "They will try to surround us with swarm attacks," he told his crew. "They think their numbers will overwhelm us." When the Krex fleet attacked, it came in perfect coordination. Thousands of small, fast ships moved like a single organism, trying to encircle the human vessels. Changmin activated his ship's new quantum computer systems. The machines ran millions of battle simulations every second, predicting and countering every possible Krex strategy. "Fire pattern Delta 7, he ordered. The human ships opened fire with weapons that bent space and time. The Krex swarm formations were torn apart as reality itself warped around them. Ships that had been flying in perfect coordination suddenly found themselves scattered across impossible distances. The worst part was that the humans pursued every fleeing vessel. Their new philosophy had been made clear in their training. No survivors, no mercy. No one remembers who started this. News anchor Bora sat in her studio on the neutral world of Sanctuary Station, trying to make sense of the reports flooding in from across the galaxy. Her job was to provide calm, factual news coverage, but the facts were too terrible to believe. "Confirmed reports are coming in from over 40 star systems," she announced to her galaxy-wide audience. "Human forces have appeared simultaneously at every major council world. Military resistance has proven completely ineffective." She paused to check her notes, but her hands were shaking too badly to read them. The Rigel defense fleet was destroyed in 17 minutes. The Canopus orbital stations have been completely erased. The Vega colony worlds are broadcasting unconditional surrender. More reports appeared on her screen. Each one was worse than the last. Human Fleet Commander Admiral Park has issued a statement to the survivors of the Altair system. Submit or burn. Similar messages are being broadcast across known space. The communication system crackled, and a new signal overrode Bora's broadcast. Admiral Jae Sung's cold face appeared on screens throughout the galaxy. "People of the Council," he announced, "your military forces have been eliminated. Your leaders have fled or died. Your worlds lie defenseless before us." Behind him, the bridge of his flagship showed tactical displays of the galaxy. Red markers indicated human fleets in position around every inhabited system. "Some of you chose to surrender immediately. Those worlds will be spared and allowed to continue existing under human protection. Others chose to resist. You have seen their fate." The display zoomed in on systems where fighting had occurred. Where once there had been thriving colonies and space stations, now there was only empty space. "The old order is finished," Jae Sung continued. "The Council is dissolved. The treaties and laws that governed your species are void. From this moment forward, there is only one authority in this galaxy: humanity." In the ruins of the Council's military headquarters, Admiral Sung Ho watched the broadcast from a damaged emergency shelter. Most of his staff was dead or missing. The few survivors huddled around failing life support systems. "Sir," one of his remaining officers whispered, "what are your orders?" Sung Ho looked at the tactical display showing the complete destruction of his forces. In 6 months, humanity had undone 3 centuries of galactic civilization. They had not just won a war, they had eliminated the very concept of organized resistance. "Signal all remaining Council forces," he said quietly. "Full surrender. No more fighting, sir." "They were right," Sung Ho continued. "We should have left them alone. What we did to them 500 years ago, this is the price we pay. Across the galaxy, the last pockets of resistance surrendered one by one. Some fought to the bitter end and were simply erased from existence. Others gave up as soon as human ships appeared in their systems." On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Jae Sung received surrender messages from hundreds of worlds. Each one was identical: complete submission to human authority. "Admiral," his aide Ye Jin reported, "we are receiving a priority transmission from Earth." The screen showed Fleet Admiral Lee, Supreme Commander of all human forces. He stood in a vast command center that stretched beyond the edges of the camera view. "Jae Sung," Lee said, "excellent work. Phase 1 is complete. All major resistance has been eliminated." "Thank you, sir. What are your orders for Phase 2? "Begin the reorganization. I want military governors assigned to every system within 72 hours. Start with the industrial worlds. We will need their production capacity for the expansion." "Expansion, sir?" Lee smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "Did you think we would stop with this galaxy? We have identified 17 other galactic clusters within reach. Some of them have civilizations that might pose a threat in the future." Jae Sung nodded. "How many ships do you want me to assign to the new exploration fleets?" "All of them. We will build new vessels for occupation duty. The shipyards at Proxima and Wolf 359 are already at full production." As the transmission ended, Jae Sung looked out at the stars. For 500 years, humanity had dreamed of this moment. They had planned and prepared and built their strength in the cold dark between galaxies. Now they were home. And they were only getting started. 6 months had passed since the human fleet arrived, and the galaxy was completely transformed. Taeho knelt in what had once been the council chamber aboard Nexus Prime. The peaceful symbols of galactic cooperation had been removed and replaced with the stark black and silver emblems of the Terran hegemony. Fleet. Admiral Lee sat behind a desk made from the hull plating of destroyed council warships. His uniform was spotless, his expression calm and controlled. Around the room, other human officers worked quietly at control stations, managing the affairs of an entire galaxy. "Ambassador Taeho," Lee said without looking up from his reports. "You requested this meeting. Speak." Taeho kept his eyes focused on the floor. After the failed resistance, any sign of defiance could result in immediate execution. "Fleet Admiral, my people on Volani Prime are starving. The food shipments have not arrived for 3 weeks. Your people," Lee finally looked at him. "You still think in terms of separate species. How disappointing. I apologize, Fleet Admiral. The human citizens of Volani origin are experiencing food shortages." Lee smiled slightly. "Better. And yes, I'm aware of the situation. The food shipments were delayed because your former homeworld failed to meet its production quotas for military equipment. But sir, many of the workers are elderly or children. They cannot work in the weapons factories." "Then they should not eat," Lee replied simply. "Resources go to those who contribute to the hegemony. This is basic efficiency." Tejo wanted to argue, but he had seen what happened to those who pushed too hard. The human occupation forces had no patience for emotional appeals or moral arguments. In-ho, the human governor of the former Villani sectors, entered the chamber carrying a datapad. He was younger than Lee, with the cold professionalism that marked all human administrators. Fleet Admiral, In-ho reported, the loyalty assessment of Sector 7 is complete. 87% of the population has been classified as cooperative. 12% are listed as potentially problematic. The remaining 1% have been designated for re-education. Re-education was the human term for what happened to people who openly questioned the new order. No one who went to re-education camps ever returned the same. Most never returned at all. Excellent, Lee said. What about the integration program? Proceeding on schedule. All children under the age of 12 are now attending human educational facilities. They are learning standard human history, science, and cultural values. Within a generation, the distinction between species will become irrelevant. Tejo listened in horror. The humans were not just conquering the galaxy, they were erasing its diversity. Every unique culture, every different way of thinking, was being slowly ground down into uniform human patterns. There is one issue, In-ho continued. Some parents are resisting the integration of their children. They want to maintain their traditional languages and customs. Traditional customs that led to 5 centuries of oppression, Lee pointed out. We are freeing these people from the failed philosophies of the past. In another part of the station, Su-bin worked in her office as head of the Human Colonial Administration. The walls were covered with maps showing the reorganization of galactic society. Former species boundaries had been erased and replaced with administrative zones based on economic efficiency. A Thoran engineer named Korval entered the office, carrying construction plans. He had been one of the lucky ones. Skilled workers who cooperated fully were treated well under the new system. Administrator Su-bin, Korval said, the orbital manufacturing platforms around Rigel are complete. Production of human-designed starships can begin immediately. Good, Su-bin replied. What about the civilian population centers? Also complete. The former Thoran cities have been redesigned according to human efficiency standards. All residents have been assigned to appropriate housing based on their contribution levels. Contribution levels were how the humans measured the value of individual citizens. Scientists and engineers received the highest ratings and lived in comfortable housing with adequate food. Unskilled laborers lived in basic dormitories and received minimal rations. Those classified as non-productive simply disappeared. Any problems with the transitions? Su-bin asked. Some of the elderly Thoran have difficulty adapting to the new living arrangements, Korval admitted. They keep talking about their old homes and families. Nostalgia is a luxury we cannot afford, Su-bin said firmly. The past is gone. Everyone must focus on their role in building the future. Meanwhile, on Earth itself, Dongwook sat in his study writing the document that would define galactic civilization for generations to come. As humanity's chief philosopher, he was tasked with creating the intellectual foundation for the new order. The document was called the Terran Constitution, and it would replace all previous laws and treaties. Dongwook had spent months crafting language that made human supremacy seem not just inevitable, but morally necessary. Leadership belongs to those who have proven they can survive anything, he wrote. For 5 centuries, humanity endured exile in the void between galaxies. We faced extinction and chose to grow stronger instead. We mastered technologies that other species could not imagine. We developed philosophies that other minds could not comprehend. He paused to consider his next words carefully. The Constitution had to be convincing to both humans and non-humans. The galaxy tried to contain humanity's potential for destruction, and instead created something far superior, humanity's potential for absolute dominance. This dominance is not based on hatred or cruelty, but on demonstrated superiority in every field of endeavor. On one of the outer worlds, former Council Captain Young-Soo commanded a mixed human-alien crew aboard the patrol ship Unity. The irony of the name was not lost on him. Unity under human control looked very different from the cooperation the old Council had promoted. His crew included humans, Villani, Thoran, and even a few former Krex drones who had been separated from their collective. They all wore the same black and silver uniforms and followed the same human military protocols. Captain, his Villani navigation officer reported, We are receiving a distress signal from the mining colony on Kepler 442. What is the nature of the emergency? Young-Soo asked. Equipment failure in the primary life support systems. They are requesting immediate assistance. Young-Soo checked his orders. The mining colony was classified as low priority because it only produced common metals, not the exotic materials needed for human weapons. Send a standard repair kit by cargo drone, he decided. We cannot spare the time for a full rescue mission. Sir, the Villani officer said quietly, there are 3,000 people on that colony. If their life support fails, then they should have maintained their equipment properly, Young-Soo replied. The hegemony cannot waste resources on every minor crisis. The Villani officer's face showed his distress, but he followed orders. Under the old council system, every life had been considered valuable. Under human rule, value was measured by productivity and strategic importance. As their ship continued its patrol, Young-Soo reflected on how much had changed. He had once fought against the human invasion, believing he was defending freedom and justice. Now he served the same humans who had destroyed his fleet. The strange thing was that the human system actually worked. Crime had virtually disappeared because criminals were quickly identified and removed. Economic inefficiency was eliminated because unproductive activities were simply banned. Social conflicts were resolved because dissent was not tolerated. It was peaceful, orderly, and completely without hope for those who did not fit into human plans. Back on Nexus Prime, Fleet Admiral Lee stood on the observation deck of his command center, looking out at the restored Earth through the massive windows. The blue and green planet sparkled in the light of its star, surrounded by the geometric patterns of orbital habitats and defense platforms. Ye Jin, his personal aide, approached with the daily reports. Admiral, the deep space exploration fleets have reached the edge of Andromeda Galaxy. They report multiple civilizations with advanced technology. What are their recommendations? Lee asked. They are requesting additional ships and authorization to begin diplomatic contact. Lee smiled, but it was the cold expression of a predator selecting its next prey. Diplomatic contact. How charmingly optimistic. Should I tell them to proceed with standard first contact protocols? Tell them to assess military capabilities first, Lee ordered. If these Andromeda civilizations are weak, we will offer them the same choice we gave this galaxy. If they are strong enough to pose a threat, yes sir, then we will eliminate them before they become a problem. We learned our lesson from the Council's mistake. Never leave a potential enemy with the chance to grow stronger. As the camera pulled back from the observation deck, the true scale of human achievement became visible. Thousands of warships surrounded Earth, each one larger and more advanced than anything the old galaxy had ever produced. Construction yards stretched for millions of kilometers, building new vessels at an incredible rate. This was no longer the humanity that had been driven into exile 5 centuries ago. This was something new, a species that had transformed suffering into strength, isolation into superiority, and revenge into righteousness. The galaxy had tried to destroy them out of fear,